Hey, listen up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to completely shift how you see yourself and how women see you. Most men go through life thinking they know what women want: flowers, dinner dates, being nice. But here's the brutal truth: you're missing the entire point. Women don't fantasize about the guy who brings them coffee. They fantasize about the man who makes them feel something deeper, something primal, something they can't quite explain, but they crave it. And today, I'm going to break down exactly how to become that man. See, most guys are playing checkers, while the man women fantasize about is playing chess. He's not trying to win her over with gifts or compliments. He's creating an experience, an energy that she can't shake. And here's what's crazy: once you understand this, once you really get it, you'll never see attraction the same way again. Because this isn't about looks, this isn't about money, this is about presence, about power, about becoming the kind of man who lives in her thoughts long after he's gone. So if you're ready to stop being just another guy and start being the man she thinks about when she's alone, then pay attention. Because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what it takes to become unforgettable. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is the power of mystery. Most men lay everything out on the table. They tell her their entire life story on the first date. They're like an open book. And here's the problem: open books get read once and put back on the shelf. But the man women fantasize about is like a puzzle she can't solve. You ever notice how some guys can say 3 words and a woman will spend hours analyzing what he meant? That's not an accident. That's strategy. See, women are wired to think. They're wired to wonder. And when you give her just enough to be intrigued, but not enough to figure you out completely, you create what I call mental real estate. You're living in her head rent-free. Think about it this way: if she knows everything about you, where's the excitement? Where's the chase? Women don't fantasize about predictable. They fantasize about the unknown, about the man who might surprise them, who might challenge them, who might be different from every other guy who's tried to win her over. So here's what you do. You reveal yourself in layers. You don't dump your entire personality on her in one conversation. You let her discover pieces of you slowly. And each piece she discovers makes her want to know more. It's like giving her a taste of something incredible, but never the whole meal. She'll keep coming back for more. The next thing that sets apart the man women fantasize about is unshakable confidence, but not arrogance. There's a difference, and most men get this wrong. They think confidence means being loud, being the center of attention, showing off. But that's not confidence. That's insecurity dressed up as confidence. Real confidence, the kind that makes women fantasize, is quiet. It's calm. It's knowing your worth without needing to prove it to anyone. And when a woman sees a man who's genuinely comfortable in his own skin, she starts wondering what it would be like to be in his world. But here's where most guys mess up. They confuse confidence with being a jerk. They think being confident means being rude or dismissive. But that's not confidence. That's compensation. Real confidence is respectful. It's strong, but not aggressive. It's the difference between a lion and a dog that barks too much. Another crucial element is creating emotional tension. And I'm not talking about drama. I'm talking about the kind of tension that makes her pulse quicken when she sees you, the kind that makes her wonder what you're thinking, the kind that makes her feel alive. Most men try to make women comfortable. They try to be safe, predictable, easy. But comfort doesn't create fantasy. Safety doesn't make her heart race. The man women fantasize creates emotional peaks and valleys. He's not mean, he's not playing games, but he's not boring either. Here's how this works. You're not always available. You have your own life, your own goals, your own boundaries. When she texts you, you don't respond immediately. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're actually building something meaningful. And when you do respond, it's with purpose, it's with intention. You challenge her, not in a confrontational way, but in a way that makes her think, that makes her see herself differently. Most guys agree with everything she says. They nod along like yes men. But the man she fantasizes about has his own opinions, his own perspective, and he's not afraid to share them. This creates what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. When the reward is not guaranteed, when she can't predict your every move, that's when the fantasy begins, because she's constantly wondering what's next. Something absolutely crucial that most men miss is having a mission bigger than her. Most men make women their mission. They make getting her attention their primary focus, and that's exactly why they fail. The man women fantasize about has something driving him, something that matters more than any individual woman. Maybe it's his career, maybe it's his passion, maybe it's his purpose. But whatever it is, it's real and it's consuming. And when a woman sees a man who's genuinely passionate about something, it's magnetic, because passion is attractive. Ambition is attractive. A man on a mission is attractive. Here's why this works. When you have a bigger purpose, you're not needy. You're not desperate for her attention because you've got something else fulfilling you. And ironically, that makes her want your attention even more. It's like being at the party who's not trying to talk to every woman. Suddenly every woman wants to talk to you. Women fantasize about being part of something bigger than themselves. They want to feel like they're with a man who's going places, who's building something, who's becoming something. And when you have that mission, that drive, she doesn't just want to be with you, she wants to be part of your journey. But here's the key. Your mission has to be real. It can't be fake. It can't be something you're doing just to attract women, because women have a sixth sense of authenticity, and they can spot a fake from a mile away. Now let's talk about the art of push and pull. This is advanced level stuff, but it's what separates the men women fantasize about from the men they forget. The push and pull is about creating emotional distance and closeness in a rhythm that keeps her engaged. Most guys are all pull. They're always trying to get closer, always trying to connect, always available. But that creates no tension, no mystery, no excitement. The man women fantasize about knows when to pull her in and when to create space. Here's what this looks like. You have an amazing conversation with her. You connect, you laugh, you share something meaningful. And then you don't text her for a couple days. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're actually building something meaningful. And when you do respond, it's with purpose. It's with intention.
Or maybe you're at a party together. You give her attention, you make her feel special, and then you go talk to other people. You don't ignore her, but you don't orbit around her either. You show her that while you enjoy her company, you don't need it to have a good time. This creates what I call emotional investment. When someone has to work a little bit for your attention, when they can't take it for granted, that's when it becomes valuable. And when something is valuable, that's when people start fantasizing about having it.
Let's talk about sexual confidence without being crude. There's a difference between being a man who's comfortable with his sexuality and being a guy who can't think about anything else. The man women fantasize about is not afraid of his sexual energy, but he's not controlled by it either. Sexual confidence isn't about talking about sex all the time. It's about being comfortable in your own skin. It's about not being awkward when there's sexual tension. It's about being able to hold eye contact without looking away. It's about not being afraid of your own masculinity. Most guys either ignore their sexuality completely, trying to be the nice guy, or they're overly sexual, making everything about sex. But the man women fantasize about is comfortable with all aspects of himself, including his sexuality. And that comfort is intoxicating. Here's how this shows up. You're not afraid to flirt. You're not afraid of physical touch when it's appropriate. You're not afraid to look at her like you find her attractive. But you're also not making it the only thing you care about her. Women fantasize about men who can make them feel desirable without making them feel like objects. Men who can appreciate their beauty without losing their minds over it. Men who can be sexual without being sleazy. Another key trait is having emotional intelligence, but not being emotional. Most men think being emotional means being weak, or they think being strong means being emotionless. But the man women fantasize about understands emotions, both his own and hers, but he's not controlled by them. Emotional intelligence means you can read the room, you can sense what she's feeling, you can respond appropriately to different situations, but you're not reactive, you're not having emotional outbursts, you're not letting your feelings dictate your actions. Here's the thing, women deal with emotions all day long. They're emotional beings, and they need a man who can be their rock, who can be stable when they're not, who can understand what they're going through without getting caught up in it himself. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being calm. It means being the steady presence in her life, the one she can depend on to be strong when she can't be, the one who understands her but doesn't get lost in her emotional storms. Women fantasize about men who can handle their emotions without being overwhelmed by them, men who can comfort them without becoming emotional themselves, men who can be supportive without losing their own center. Here's something that sounds like a contradiction, but makes perfect sense: being unpredictably consistent. You're consistent in your core values, your integrity, your character, but you're unpredictable in how you express it, in what you do, and how you surprise her. Most men are either completely predictable, which is boring, or completely unpredictable, which is exhausting. But the man women fantasize about is like a jazz musician. He knows the basic structure, but he improvises within it. She knows you can count on you. She knows you're reliable. She knows you're trustworthy, but she never knows exactly what you're going to do next. Maybe tonight you take her somewhere she's never been. Maybe you surprise her with something thoughtful. Maybe you challenge her to see something differently. This creates the perfect combination of security and excitement. She feels safe with you, but she's never bored. She knows you're solid, but she's always curious about what's next. And that curiosity, that's what keeps the fantasy alive. Something huge that most men miss is not needing her validation. Most men are constantly seeking approval, constantly asking if she likes them, constantly worried about what she thinks. But the man women fantasize about knows his worth, and he doesn't need anyone else to confirm it. This doesn't mean you don't care about her opinion. It means you don't need it to feel good about yourself. It means you make decisions based on what you think is right, not on what you think she wants to hear. Here's why this is so attractive. When you don't need her validation, you can't be manipulated. When you know your worth, you can't be taken advantage of. When you're secure in yourself, you can be genuine because you're not trying to be someone else to impress her. Women fantasize about men who are complete on their own, men who would be fine with or without them, men who choose to be with them not because they need them, but because they want them. And there's a huge difference. Here's the final piece of the puzzle. You make her feel like the only woman in the world when you're with her, but you don't make her feel like she's the only woman in your world. And again, this sounds contradictory, but it's not. When you're with her, you're present, you're engaged, you're focused on her. But she also knows that you have options. She knows that other women find you attractive. She knows that you chose her not because you had to, but because you wanted to. And that makes all the difference. Most men either ignore other women completely, which makes them seem desperate, or they flirt with everyone, which makes them seem like players. But the man women fantasize about is naturally charismatic with everyone, but he chooses to focus that energy on her. This creates what I call chosen specialness. She doesn't feel special because you tell her she's special. She feels special because you chose her out of all the options you had. And she knows you had options because she can see how other women respond to you. Here's the thing about fantasy. It's not about being perfect. It's about being powerful. It's about being the kind of man who makes her feel things she didn't know she could feel, who makes her think thoughts she didn't know she could think, who makes her want things she didn't know she wanted. The man women fantasize about is not trying to be everything to everyone. He's not trying to please everyone. He's not trying to be liked by everyone. He's being himself fully, completely, authentically. And that authenticity, that power, that confidence, that's what creates the fantasy. Because here's the truth. Women don't fantasize about perfect men. They fantasize about powerful men. Not powerful in the sense of domination, but powerful in the sense of being completely comfortable with who they are, what they want, and where they're going. And when you become that man, when you stop trying to be what you think she wants and start being who you actually are, when you stop seeking validation and start living with purpose, when you stop being afraid of your own power and start embracing it, that's when everything changes. That's when you stop being just another guy and start being the man she can't think about, the man she fantasizes about, the man she dreams about, and the man she chooses above all others. So here's my challenge to you. Stop trying to be the nice guy. Stop trying to be the safe choice. Stop trying to be what you think she wants, and start being the man you were meant to be. Start building that mission. Start developing that confidence. Start embracing that mystery. Because the world doesn't need another average guy. The world needs men who are willing to be extraordinary. And when you make that choice, when you decide to become the man women fantasize about, you're not just changing your dating life, you're changing your entire life. Remember, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about playing games. This is about becoming the most authentic, powerful version of yourself. And when you do that, when you really do that, the results will speak for themselves. Thanks for watching, and remember, become the man worth fantasizing about, and watch how the world responds.